The Honourable Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Ministers, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Assistant Ministers, the Honourable Members of this House, ladies and gentlemen. Honourable Speaker, I rise to support the motion by the Honourable Prime Minister to thank His Excellency the President for his most gracious address to this Honourable House. The President's address provides an opportunity for Parliament to reflect on the direction of our nation and the responsibilities that fall upon our institutions. It sets out the priorities of government and reminds us of the broader context within which Fiji must operate as a small island state in an increasingly complex international environment. At the outset, I wish to reflect briefly on an important moment in our recent national history. In 2022, Honourable Speaker, during a period of political transition and uncertainty, following the general elections, the Office of the President carried a significant constitutional responsibility. At that time, the former President, Ratu William Katunivere, presided over the constitutional processes that followed the election with confidence, courage, and strength. During that period, the nation was closely observing how institutions would respond. The Presidency provided continuity and calm, while constitutional mechanisms for the formation of government were carried out. For Fiji, which has experienced moments of political disruptions in the past, the conduct of institutions during the transition contributed to strengthening public confidence in democratic governance. Mr. Speaker, the President's address also provides an opportunity to reflect on the development of our national security institutions and the role they play in maintaining stability and protecting the interests of all the people of our country. In that regard, I wish to acknowledge the Republic of Fiji military forces. The RFMF is one of the country's central national institutions. For decades, it has represented Fiji in international peacekeeping operations and has contributed to missions across the world under the auspices of the United Nations and other international arrangements. Through those missions, Fiji has earned a reputation as a country that contributes to global peace and stability. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, it is necessary to recognize our history with honesty. There were periods in Fiji's past when the military institution became involved in political developments in ways that served particular political agendas. Those events shaped public perceptions of the relationship between the military and democratic governance. Today, the direction of the institution is different. Under the leadership of Major General Rochani Koloniwai, the RFMF continues to emphasize professionalism, discipline, and service to the nation as a national institution. The leadership of the force has focused on strengthening professional standards and ensuring that the institution performs its duties within the framework of the law. The officers and personnel of the RFMF continue to serve Fiji both domestically and internationally. Their work reflects a commitment to national service and to the responsibilities that come with representing Fiji in international peacekeeping missions. Mr. Speaker, the policy direction for Fiji's security sector is guided by the National Security Strategy. This strategy recognizes that the nature of security threats facing the country has evolved significantly. Traditional security threats remain important considerations. However, the security challenges confronting Fiji and the wider Pacific region increasingly include non-traditional threats. These include transnational organized crime, illicit drug trafficking, cybersecurity risks, people smuggling, and other criminal activities that operate across national borders. These threats have direct consequences for communities across Fiji. The spread of illicit drugs has become one of the most serious challenges facing many communities. The impact of drug abuse extends beyond criminal activity. It affects families, public health systems, and the long-term well-being of young Fijian people. Addressing this issue requires a comprehensive approach. Law enforcement agencies must continue to strengthen their operational capabilities to disrupt criminal networks and facilitate the movement of drugs into the country. At the same time, Honourable Speaker, the first line of defence against drug abuse must remain within the family. Strong families and responsible parenting. Families and parents play an essential role in guiding young people and ensuring that they grow up with the values, discipline, and support necessary to avoid involvement in drugs and criminal activity. The Fiji Police Force carries the primary responsibility for law enforcement in this area. Continued support for the work of the police remains essential as they strengthen their investigative capacity and operational effectiveness. Mr. Speaker, the evolving nature of security threats also requires a flexible and coordinated national response capability. Consideration is being given to the development of a hybrid framework under which the RFMF can be ready to support national authorities when specialized capabilities are required. Such arrangements would operate within the framework of the law and support the work of civilian institutions, particularly the police. The objective is to ensure that national institutions are able to respond effectively when complex security challenges arise. Another area of growing importance is cybersecurity. The digital environment has become an essential component of modern governance, financial systems, communications, infrastructure, and national services. Cyber vulnerabilities, therefore, present potential risks to government institutions, financial systems, and critical infrastructure. Strengthening cybersecurity capabilities form part of the broader national security framework. This includes improving technical expertise, strengthening information security systems, and cooperating with international partners in addressing cyber threats. Mr. Speaker, Fiji's geography also shapes the nature of its security responsibilities. Fiji is an ocean nation with a vast maritime domain. Our exclusive economic zone is extensive and contains resources that contribute significantly to the national economy and to the livelihoods of many communities. Protecting that maritime space remains an important national priority. Illegal fishing, illicit trafficking, and other forms of transnational criminal activity often occur across the maritime routes. Strengthening maritime domain awareness, therefore, remains essential. This includes investment in surveillance systems, maritime patrol capability, and improved coordination among the institutions responsible for maritime security. Work is also underway, Honourable Speaker, through the Ministry of Defence and Veterans Affairs to advance a number of strategic initiatives that will strengthen the country's security architecture. Now, these include the development of a new Defence Act to modernize the legal framework governing the Republic of Fiji military forces. The proposed legislation will update the regulatory environment for the military and ensure that it reflects contemporary security requirements. In addition, work continues on the development of the maritime security strategy. This strategy will provide a coordinated framework for managing the country's maritime security responsibilities and for strengthening cooperation among relevant agencies. Honourable Speaker, the development of a national peacekeeping strategy will also guide Fiji's continued participation in international peacekeeping missions and ensure that our contribution remains aligned with national interests and our international obligations under the guidance of the National Security Strategy. Mr. Speaker, Fiji's security responsibilities are not carried out in isolation. Our country continues to benefit from strong partnerships with regional and international partners. In particular, I wish to acknowledge the close partnership that Fiji maintains with Australia under the Bubale Partnership and the Defence Cooperation Programme. Australia has provided significant support to Fiji's maritime security capability, including assistance for the establishment and development of the Bubale Maritime Essential Services Centre. This centre plays an important role in coordinating maritime operations and improving Fiji's capacity to monitor and respond to development within our maritime domain. New Zealand also remains a trusted partner through the Nduawata Partnership cooperation between Fiji and New Zealand. Cooperation between Fiji and New Zealand continues to support defence training, institutional cooperation, and engagement at the level of community leadership. These initiatives contribute to strengthening both institutional and community resilience. Mr. Speaker, Fiji has also strengthened engagement with Japan in the area of maritime security. Japan has supported Fiji through maritime capability development and has indicated its intention to provide additional patrol vessels in July this year to Fiji. In fact, Honourable Speaker, that will be 3 additional patrol boats to Fiji donated by the Government of Japan, in strengthening its maritime surveillance capability. Such support contributes directly to Fiji's ability to monitor and protect its maritime domain. Honourable Speaker, Fiji welcomes the continued development of defence cooperation with Japan and recognizes the value of this partnership in supporting maritime security in the Pacific region. Mr. Speaker, Fiji also maintains constructive relationships with the United States, the European Union, and China. We acknowledge especially the creation of the Millennium Challenge Cooperation to replace US aid, which has strengthened Fiji's partnership with the USA in a significant way. These partnerships contribute to development cooperation, economic engagement, and regional stability. Fiji's approach to international engagement remains guided by our national interest, and by the objective of maintaining a stable and peaceful Pacific region. Mr. Speaker, the address by His Excellency the President outlines the challenges and responsibilities that lie before the nation. It highlights the importance of strong institutions, effective governance, and responsible leadership. Members of this House carry the responsibility of ensuring that legislation, policy, and national debate contribute to the stability, security, and the well-being of the people of Fiji. And Honourable Speaker, before I finish, I think I have about 5 minutes, I just want to make a few short comments before I resume my seat. In particular, I would like to acknowledge the earlier statement with my the Honorable Praveen Bala. Good. I'm glad you have got your attention. I think it's a generous idea, and I was going to raise it initially, and I agree with the Honorable Tambuya that already the coalition government is taking the lead in this regard, through the constitute of the coalition government itself, also with the presence of the group of 12 in this government. I think Fiji needs to respond to that call for unity and a call to work together to realize particularly interests that we share. And rather than considering mostly where we differ and providing a toxic environment for our development as a country and as a people. But I would suggest, Honorable Bala, there is already a model here that is workable. I invite you to come and be part. Come and be part of this national movement of unity that you have very well expressed. And of course, and that goes to all of our honorable friends from across the House. Please come along and join us. Obviously, unity is better than disunity, so any concept of uniting people is always welcome. I would like also to write on Honorable Speaker, under the subject of the rule of law. Recently I've been receiving queries from the media, both both through social media and the traditional media forums, particularly on the role of the RFMF and whether it is going to intervene and people are illegally making appeals from abroad and everywhere, particularly using social media. I would like to take this opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to appeal to our people. I've just noted that the RSMF has looked at its past, it has reconciled its past, it's looking at the future. It has no intention but to follow the law. Yeah. It's growing and developing into a professional force. It is, I do not encourage people who stir up the RSMF for, for their own personal interest and benefits. Many here in Fiji and many abroad who seem to think that the RSMF is a quick solution for everything. Something doesn't happen, get the RSMF to do something. Now that is never the role. That will never be the role. That should not be the role. In fact, we trust our institutions to be strong, and our institutions must follow the rule of law. That is the short answer to everything. So when there is something that affects our nation and our people generally, the first thing to do is to follow the law. And the RFMF, as an institution, is going to follow the law, Honorable Speaker, and I just want to emphasize that. Honorable Speaker, I know that at the beginning, and I had alluded to this earlier, the RFMF and the ministry is very much at the center of a lot of the political debate. Much of that, now that is no longer the case. I know the commander asked me once and said, oh, we appear to be irrelevant. Nobody really is asking for our comment. And I told him, Mr. Speaker, Commander, that's exactly the point. The point is that the RFMF must take its place at the back and allow the people to lead. We're here for the people, and we're here for the people through the law, which we uphold. And Honorable Speaker, with those additional observations, I thank you for this opportunity to address the House, and I support the motion to thank His Excellency, the President, for his most gracious address to the Parliament. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.